Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Clovis Casali in Paris. Coming up on the show. Life in Iraq before and after the US invasion. A rare documentary presents the harsh reality in a war-torn country. An African version of Sex and the City is a huge hit in Ghana, but too provocative for some. And a journey into the world of Jimi Hendrix. His London flat has been recreated exactly how it once was. But first, this two-part documentary that depicts everyday life in Iraq just before and after the US invasion. In Homeland, Iraq, Year Zero, filmmaker Abbas Fahdel shows how his family and friends have been affected by the ongoing turmoil. A deeply moving and unusual documentary that's just been released in France. Shona Batasharia tells us more.
Before Saddam Hussein's fall, Fahdel's family avoided overt political statements as they hoped and waited for a better life.
What could be worse than what they knew? Nothing. They hoped the war would get rid of Saddam, end the embargo, and that Iraq would finally become a normal country.
The second part of the film shows life after the end of the dictatorship. American forces patrol the streets, and residents worry about the future.
There was hope that in the weeks and months to come, that things would get better, that violence would end, that there would be a real government, a real democracy. Today we know that, in fact, things just got worse.
For over 5 hours, Fahdel takes the viewer through mundane moments fraught with apprehension. Like for Iraq, Fahdel's young nephew Haidar's future is at stake. His death by a stray bullet reminds us fate can be a dirty word.
The Jasmine Revolution in Tunisia 5 years ago led to an outburst of creativity, with artists finally able to freely express their minds. In Paris's Maison de la Tunisie throughout February, an exhibition shows the works of Tunisian cartoonists who use pens instead of weapons to fight for their ideas. One of them is Nidal Gariani. Our reporters met him. Here's their report.
This is the story of a man of many opinions, one who chose to express himself through his drawings, not words. Nidal Gariani rose to prominence during Tunisia's Jasmine Revolution under the pseudonym Need All. His aim? To prove the pen is mightier than the sword.
We talk about homosexuality, we talk about even sport, we talk about everything. It's all about what we need right now. So it's more about our inspiration, our lack of freedom, our need to express ourselves.
In a joint venture with a group of cartoonists, Nidal founded Lab 619. Together they publish comics depicting contemporary Tunisian society and politics. The cartoons come in both Tunisian dialect and French and are printed in black and white. Sold at 3 dinars, that's €1.5, the publication is cheap as chips. And today they've travelled across the Mediterranean to be exhibited in the French capital during the month of February. The crowd so far are taken aback.
It's like discovering a new Tunisian product, 100% Tunisian. Also, the name 619 refers to the barcode of Tunisian products. It's like discovering several things that address daily life.
They seem very daring. There is experience of war, political unrest, which is a worldwide experience. It's not specific to Tunisia. And a lot of sex, a lot of tits, which is also universal and not specific to the US, for example.
Nadia Dub is also a member of Lab 619. Her topic of interest, what lays beneath the veil.
Beyond the fact that I wanted to make people laugh, beyond the mockery and the blonde idiot aspect, there's a level of self-deprecation. Maybe a woman asking herself, what if one day I have to dress like that in my country? well, she'll still feel like a woman.
These cartoonists are paving the way for more freedom of speech, which in North Africa can come at a high price. But they're here to stay. They want Lab 619 to become a more widespread movement, and that's in the works already, with Algerian and Sudanese artists expected to contribute to the next edition.
Sex and the City is probably one of the biggest TV successes of all times. The Adventures of Carrie Bradshaw in New York won over audiences around the world and even inspired a team of screenwriters in Ghana. Their show is called An African City, and it was a YouTube sensation back in 2014. Katerina Vitozzi got the chance to attend the Season 2's premiere in Accra. Take a look.
This is a story of an African city.
The city's Accra, Ghana. The story, the lives, loves and libidos of 5 African women.
And I know, I live to talk about it, see? You do, girl, we always do.
An African City Season 1 was an online sensation with more than 2 million views.
You have a picture of Jesus over there on the wall that looks like Brad Pitt.
Now back for a second series, fans love it for the fashion, the fun and its fresh perspective on African life.
There's a certain group of Ghanaian women who are now seeing themselves reflected on TV. Young, modern, working. If you hear of any stories coming out of Africa, it's about poverty. But to see young, dynamic women on TV, I think that's been the biggest thing.
The show follows 5 Ghanaians back in Accra after either being born or living overseas.
And I remember sitting there, age 6, in the States, knowing so clearly that miles and miles away that there was this home that I truly belonged to.
Creator Nicola Matafio believed that's a feeling many people identify with.
My favorite comment on YouTube is a woman who wrote, "I'm Puerto Rican, born in New York, but I live in Italy, and what do I have in common with all these women? Everything."
Love.
But the programme hasn't been without its critics.
It went in a little.
Scenes of single women having sex has shocked some in conservative Christian Ghana. But the show's writers want to provoke that debate.
It is so crucial for us to create space to have honest conversations about sex in a society and culture like Ghana, where women are really shamed and judged for even having a sexuality.
Season 2 promises more glamour, sex and soul-searching, all done in killer heels.
He's gone down in history as one of the best ever guitarists. Jimi Hendrix died of a drug overdose in London in 1970, and the flat where he lived in Mayfair has recently opened its doors to the public. His former girlfriend, who he lived with, has made sure the interior is perfectly recreated with the furniture, carpets, and even Hendrix's vinyls. A real journey back in time.
Red carpeting, turquoise drapes, and Persian rugs hung on the walls. Welcome to the 60s as decorated by Jimi Hendrix. The singer's bedroom has been faithfully recreated in his former residence on Brook Street, where he lived with his girlfriend at the time from July 1968 to March 1969.
One of the great advantages of living here was that there were no neighbours. It wasn't really a residential street at that time. So you could play music as loud as you liked, and they did.
Adjoining his flat, the home of another famous musician, 18th century Baroque composer George Friedrich Handel. It was here that Handel wrote many of his masterpieces, including Messiah.
When he found out that Handel had lived here, he was interested. He had a very open ear. He was always willing to listen to all kinds of music. So he went up to Oxford Street to HMV, a record shop, and bought the Water Music and the Messiah.
The museum also displays photos and video clips of the singer and includes his record collection and one of his guitars.
I think all the clips and photographs probably give you a bigger glimpse than you've ever had of him concentrated in one place, of what was he like as a person, not just an artist, but what did he do? He played guitar constantly, he was writing constantly.
Hendrix moved out in 1969, a year before he died of a drug overdose in a London hotel. 46 years after his death, his music continues to inspire. And for fans of the guitarist, it's now possible to take a journey back in time.
Well, Well, that's it for today. More culture on our social networks and on France24.com. I leave you with a selection of pictures taken by Bettina Reims, known for her portraits of Madonna, Monica Bellucci, and many others. The French photographer celebrated at the MEP in Paris with a retrospective of a career that spans 4 decades.